Living outside the 3D matrix, the fear matrix, the matrix of limitation. The red pill, are you choosing the red pill or the blue pill? It's a concept that was explored in the movie The Matrix, but I think those movies went so viral because there was such a truth involved in what was explored, although I never liked them, but we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that and more on Elevate today with me. Stay tuned. Welcome to Elevate, the awareness shift, waking the quantum self. I'm KAren Swain, your host, and you're listening on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 107.7 and 105.3 FM, syndicated radio all over the world. Hello. Welcome to another show called Elevate on the United Public Radio Network. Elevate consciousness, waking the quantum self, the awareness shift. Just me today, none of the gals joining me, but I had some great discussions with people during the week about what we're talking about today, and I thought, that's what we can explore on Elevate, living outside the 3D matrix. As I said, the movie, I love this. I've got this picture I thought I would upload, the blue pill or the red pill. The movie The Matrix explored this, and those movies just went viral. Did they come out in the 90s? Yeah, I think they came out in the 90s, but I think they're making another one. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So what we're going to talk about today is, what does it mean? Some people call it the matrix, people call it dimensions, some people call it different frequencies, different energy shifts. But we've been talking for a long time on the shows and on a lot of other spiritual shows about the shift in human consciousness, the energy shift, the yuga shift, the time shift that we're going through, the ages, moving from one age to another, age of Aquarius. This is the dawning of the age. And this conversation is all about that. It's also about being a deliberate creator, a genius deliberate creator. Lots of people are talking about, how they can create their own reality. How can I get what I want? And really living outside the 3D matrix is what it's all about. But for the most part, just like in the movie, The Matrix, when we're swimming in belief systems, belief structures that are so common to us, we cannot even see that we're living inside a constructed reality that is not really the truth of who we are, because at the time we're living it, it is our reality. I explored this with Laura on the show today. We spoke about trauma. We were talking about betrayal. She spoke about how her husband had betrayed her for 15 years of 25 years of their marriage. Betrayal meaning that he was, with other people, and she didn't, they had an agreement that they were having a monogamous relationship and he didn't fulfill that agreement. Amazing conversation. Go check it out on ATP Media. But how trauma is a way that can knock you out of continuous patterns of thinking, and that's why trauma can be such a transformative experience. So in the anyone online at the moment? No comments at this stage. But in the movie The Matrix, they speak about that. Everyone's living their lives thinking that the reality they're in is the real reality. And then I think it's Neo. What's his name? The guy that plays the Keanu Reeves' name in the movie has this awakening where he wakes up to a reality where that earth reality is a construct, and really he lives in another reality, which is supposedly his true reality. I have to say, in the movie The Matrix, the true reality is this horrific dystopian experience. And I'm even watching it back in the 90s, I'm screaming at the television or the movie screen saying, that's not how it is. That's not how it is. So we come from a realm of pure positive energy, of bliss. Listen to the NDEs, listen to the people having out-of-body experiences, spiritually transformative experiences. When they lift out of this construct, out of this reality, they move to a world of sheer bliss, sheer beauty, a world of freedom, a world of connection. So many people talk about, when they have out-of-body experiences or NDEs, having that feeling of never having before on earth, of that feeling of belonging, feeling of being at home, that feeling of oneness, of bliss. How many words, how many adjectives can I come up with to describe the true reality? And so we come into this world, the matrix, if you like, into a world of a 3D reality that the construct has been to divide and separate. And we do that through fear. And so many of our ideas about life and who we are rooted in this fear. As I said, I was having a conversation with someone this week about the money matrix. And she was saying that she wants to earn more money. She's not earning enough money. She's sick of having this constant striving, constant needing to earn more money, to earn more money, to earn more money. And she does pretty well, but she earns big amounts of money and then doesn't earn money, then earns money, then doesn't earn money. And that's this continual pattern of feeling like, oh, I'm safe and I'm secure because I've got money in the bank, and then feeling like, oh, stress, there's no money, I've got to earn more money. And the whole concept around that is fear, because it's an idea that money is the meaning to our survival on planet Earth. And when you live outside the money matrix, or you live outside the fear-based matrix, or the matrix that is rooted in limitation and separation, she said to me, well, give me some words that I can use to not have this constant striving and stress. And I said to her, just tune into the magic of life and don't make money the reason for you having what you want. And I'm going to repeat the conversation. So it was such a cool conversation. Years ago, I read in the book Autobiography of a Yogi with Yogananda, when he was about a 15, 16, 17-year-old boy. He lived in the country, in a village in India. They didn't have a lot of money, but a lot of the people in the villages thought that the big cities back in those days, we're going back 100 years, were dangerous. And if you went in there, especially as an innocent, you would be likely killed or robbed or ripped off, or something terrible would happen. So you'd have to go in there with an adult or with somebody who could protect you, because it was dangerous in the big city. And Yogananda said to his friend, how about we have an adventure in the big city? And his friend said, no, it's too scary to go into the big city. And besides, we have no money, and it's going to take money to catch a train into the city, and then we'll need to feed ourselves. And, he came up with all these reasons why it was a bad idea. And Yogananda, as a young boy, said, ooh, I think it would be a really exciting thing to do. And we don't need any money. And his friend said, of course we need money. Money is something we need in order to get what we want, right? To do what we want to do, which is the construct of the fear matrix, or the 3D matrix. And I'm telling you this story because it's such a great depiction of him having complete faith that his God or his source or whoever he prayed to, because he grew up as this very spiritually enlightened young man. And he studied when he was a young man, and he had a guru most of his life, Sri Yukteswar. But he had this faith that he was looked after no matter what. And so he convinced his fearful friend to get on a train with him with no money and no ticket. And they're sitting next to a person on the train, and the ticket man is coming asking for people's tickets. And without a ticket, obviously, you're going to get thrown off the train or arrested or go to jail or something. And as he's approaching the boys, the man sitting next to them realizes that the boys don't have a ticket, and said, do you have a ticket for the train? And they said no. And he said, let me buy you a ticket. And so he bought the boys a ticket so they weren't thrown off the train or arrested. And then they started talking, and the man said, I'm going to lunch in the city, would you like to come? The boy said, that'd be great. So they go to lunch in the city, and they go to a big mansion where all these rich people were, and they met all these amazing people, and these amazing people were fascinated in who the boys were and how they lived their life. And so not only did he have this miraculous experience in the city, his family and his friend said to him, you'll likely come back dead, or at least, being beaten up or robbed. Long story short, the people at this place took them around the big city and showed them around the big city, and then said to them, you'll need money for a ticket home, and maybe, take some food with you, and let me give you some money for your family. So they arrived back at the end of the day with their pockets full of money and their bellies full of food, having had the best day with living on pure faith and knowing that the universe looks after you. Can you live your life like that? Can you live your life knowing that you can have and be and do and have whatever you want whenever you want it, and you don't have to earn it? You don't have to tune into the matrix that says I have to strive and work hard for my living. So that's the way that we live our life. I'm just looking online. Nobody online. Who's listening? 2 people listening so far. Not a big audience today. Anyway, hopefully you'll listen back to this, because I'd love to know your questions. So my friend was saying, well, how do I get outside this stress of feeling like I need to earn more money? I'm sick of struggling. And I said, tune into the magic of life and know that the universe is going to bring you what you want when you want it. And say to the universe, I'm excited to see how this will appear in my life without me having to make it happen. Because what we think, in order to get what we want in a material way, usually, or even if we're ill, there's so many stories of people that get ill and then they can't get better because they haven't got the money for the operation or the doctor or whatever. There's been movies made about it. In order to have what you want, it's going to take money and it's going to take hard work and striving. I'm excited to see how the universe will bring this into my life in miraculous ways. And then be in a vibration of gratitude for what's happened to you, and gratitude knowing that everything you want will come to you, and including health. So again, I was talking to somebody else this week, and we were talking about, they have a little group, and she was saying that someone in her little group had cancer, and she was praying that the cancer would go away. And everyone in the group were praying that the cancer would go away for her. And I reminded her that in order to have what you want, you can't resist what you have. But only 100% of the time. I love the way Byron says that. So arguing with reality is saying, I don't want this. I don't like the way this is. I need to fight it. I need to fix it. I need to heal it. And the majority of the way we heal in this life, whether it's through an allopathic system or a energetic system or a holistic natural health system, is to fight the disease. And we've heard so many times, I remember my ex-husband's partner, they weren't married, but they were de facto husband and wife. She was dying. She had bowel cancer, and she'd had the allopathic treatment, and then she went into remission for a while, and everyone was celebrating. And she told me this great story about somebody donating, I think it was $5,000 to her anonymously when she was sick, and how people were giving to her, and it was really beautiful. But then she got sick again. And I remember a conversation I had with her at the end of my driveway. She came to pick up my daughter one day, how she had said to me the first time she had the cancer, she didn't really fight it. She didn't fight it. She was going to fight it this time. This time she was really going to fight it. I'm going to kill this disease in my body. And I remember thinking to myself, I couldn't say it to her because she was so absolutely convinced that this was the way to go, because she had it last time, but she didn't fight it. So it went away, but it came back. But this time she's going to have a good fight, and this will kill it, mow it down, kill it. This is what we do in life, right? Like I say this often, I like watching historical television shows, and in every single one of them, there's war, 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 war. So in order to get what I want, I need to obliterate the other side. And is that still going on the planet today? Absolutely. In everything, in the health system, in politics, in, oh my God, in marriages. I need to obliterate the other side. I need to fight. I need to win this battle. I need to overcome. I need to squash the other side. But that's living inside the fear matrix, the 3D matrix, the matrix of separation, divide and conquer. And when you live in the world of miracles, when you shift into the 4th dimension, you tap into your psychic ability, you expand your energetic field, you expand your telepathic abilities, you expand your third eye, you understand that you're never alone on this planet, that you are connected and tapped into a universal energy source, a stream of consciousness that is you, that is also a part of a bigger energy source, which it can include angels and spirit guides and galactic intelligence. And then there's an ever expanding, ever bigger energy source that you are tapped into, not only tapped into, you are a part of. So that fourth dimensional reality is you being aware that you're not this singular being fighting the good fight on earth, that you're a part of an ecosystem, a cosmic system, an intelligence, an infinite intelligence that is flowing to you and through you. And when you become aware of that system, how do you utilize that system in order to live in this third dimensional paradigm, fourth dimensional paradigm, moving into a fifth dimensional paradigm? The awareness is the fourth dimensional paradigm, and the living of it is the fifth dimensional paradigm, or what people call is fifth dimensions. But it's more of a construct, an understanding, an awareness of who you are, rather than a construct that we're in. We're in the world that we create for ourselves, which is our belief systems. And so when you tap into that fourth dimensional awareness, as I said, you become aware that you're never alone, that you're a part of this incredible system that is operating for you. And to live outside the fear matrix is to know that and understand that when you stop resisting what is, as Byron says, when you stop arguing with reality, you stop fighting, you stop the war in yourself. And when you stop the war in yourself, collectively, you're adding to the matrix of the war in the world, the critical mass of the war in the world. So when we bump up, and I have to say, I can teach this very well, but life always throws us challenges, doesn't it, to teach us about this. And every day we're given this ability to not argue with what is and find more miraculous ways of getting what we want rather than fighting it. I'm just thinking about what's going on in my own life and laughing, because although you understand it, living it is a completely other situation. So when you bump up against disease in your body or problems in your life, as I said, my friend said to me, she had a group and someone in the group was saying that she's going to, pray for the cancer to go away. And I just reminded her, because she was a spiritual teacher as well, consciousness teacher, to remind her person in the group, her client, that can she love the disease? Can she see the benefit of what's happening to her? Can she stop arguing with it and say thank you? And as soon as you shift that consciousness, you shift that reality, you step outside the matrix of limitation and fear. Because to be grateful for something is not to be fearful of it. To be appreciative of something is to stop resisting it. And I gave her an example, again, a Byron Katie example, where Katie, she calls herself Katie, is talking to one of her clients. It's online. I don't know what it's called, but if you can find it. And he is riddled. He'd been riddled, devastated. His body has been devastated with cancer. And he's emaciated. He's practically a skeleton sitting in the chair next to him. He has a patch over his eye because he's lost one of his eyes to cancer. And his inquiry with Katie was, I want the cancer to go away. I can never tell this story without crying. And the work, I don't know if you know the work of Byron Katie, I do it with myself, I do it with my clients, is to stop arguing with reality. And she says 4 questions in a turnaround. Is it true? And there's this emaciated man who is dying, whose life has been completely turned around because of what he's been through. And he says, yeah, it's true. And the second question is, can you absolutely know that this is true? And he's like, yeah, I can absolutely know this is true. I want it to go away. And then she asks this question, who would you be without that thought? It's such a powerful question. Who would I be without that thought? Think about all the things that you resist in your life. I hate this. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this. Who would you be without that thought? And he thinks about it deeply. And he looks at her and he said, free. I'd be free. I'd be happy. And then the inquiry, as Katie calls it, is let's inquire why. Why would you be free and happy if you didn't entertain the thought, I want this to go away, if you stopped resisting reality? And he thinks about it deeply and he says, this is the bit where I cry. He said, I've never been more present in my life than I have during this cancer journey. I've never been more appreciative for the little things. I've never thought about health more or my body more. He was a businessman, always working, always in his head, thinking about how to make money, how to do this, how to do that, never present with his own physical form, never really appreciating this vehicle that he's driving called the magnificent human body, which is such a construct of miracles. Study it. This is how I found God, if you like. Being agnostic was learning anatomy and physiology and thinking, what intelligence designed this thing? It's so brilliant. He'd never been more present to that intelligence that is the human body. He said he'd never been more present with his wife before, more present to who she is and who she is in his life than he had during this cancer journey. And he just listed off a whole lot of things that he was grateful for because he had gone through this cancer journey. I mean, he'd been sick and emaciated and had operations, and they'd taken off bits of his body and taken out his eye. And there's lots of horrible things that had happened. But the question wasn't, what are the horrible things that have happened to you? The question was, who would you be without the thought of resistance, without resisting what is? And he said, free. And this is how we can live outside the fear-based matrix. If we stop resisting what is, we stop resisting it in the world, and we stop resisting it in our own lives. Even we stop resisting the thoughts that we have that we don't like. Like, I'm having this terrible thought. I shouldn't be having this terrible thought. A lot of light workers and people that wake up to consciousness and the meaning of consciousness or spirituality or ascension, and they learn about law of attraction, they listen to Abraham Hicks or Bashar or lots of the amazing teachers that are on the planet, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, who are all telling you to get happy, to be happy, to think more positive. My show is called Accentuate the Positive, which is the interview show that I'm doing. And this show is called Elevate, 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 Elevate. The awareness shift, waking the quantum self, which is about elevating your thinking without necessarily thinking, I have to be positive. You don't have to be positive. You just have to stop resisting who you are in the moment, even when you're being a miserable cow and you're thinking negative thoughts. Like, as soon as you start judging yourself, as soon as you start arguing with reality, I shouldn't be this, I shouldn't think like this, I know better, then you're losing. As Byron Katie says, when you argue in reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So elevating, hey Heidi, much love from Boldo, much love to you too. So elevating your thoughts is not necessarily being positive, but it is stop resisting what is happening with you. This is what meditation is all about too. A lot of people who, gee, that half an hour's gone quickly, 24 minutes have gone. A lot of people who meditate find it hard to meditate because their thoughts are driving them crazy. They're going through shopping lists. They're going through should have, could have, would have. They're repeating arguments in their mind. They're thinking of what they should have done, what they should have said, what he said, what she said, this relationship, that relationship, work, this, that. You know how it is when you start to meditate. Your thoughts go wild. And what people do when they say, I can't meditate, or I don't want to meditate, or I don't like meditate, is because they've been taught to calm your thoughts. Some people say you have no thinking. I don't know anyone that's ever had no thinking. But you can calm your thoughts so that they match the frequency, which is the signal of your source or of your soul. And so it feels like you're not thinking because it's a vibrational match to that pure positive energy that you are. But the only way you can get there is by not resisting the thoughts that are coming. So a lot of teachers, including me, teach you when you're meditating, instead of to resist or try to stop your crazy monkey mind thoughts, is to witness them, be with them, observe them. Don't judge them. Or if you are going to judge them, just say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, nice. Ah, interesting. Ah, interesting. Like, just observe them. Stop resisting them. Stop arguing with them. Stop saying, I'm supposed to be calm. I'm supposed to be meditating. I'm supposed to have no thoughts. Like, stop the supposed tos. I think the stop arguing with reality is such a profound way of living on planet Earth, because so many of us are arguing with what is, thinking that in order to change it, we need to argue with it. But actually, the opposite is true. Have you ever noticed that when you stop arguing with it, when you stop focusing on something in a negative way, it absolutely automatically changes anyway? And you think to yourself, oh, how did that happen? It's like the miracle of life. What are you saying here, Heidi? I had a thought. I wasn't able to meditate. I have been diagnosed with ADHD, but my therapist many years ago encouraged me to try. Ah, a game changer, she says. Yes, thoughts will come and go and come back. Yeah, they do. And the beauty of witnessing your thoughts come back to your breath, is that when you stop arguing with reality and stop resisting them and just witness them in an interested way outside of judgment, they start to shift those shoulda, coulda, woulda thoughts, arguing with that person, wanting this, not wanting that, he said, she said, shopping lists, got to do this tomorrow. Oh, I'm so stressed, I'm so tired, what do I cook for dinner? All those thoughts. They just move when you stop resisting them, and other thoughts come in. And like I had Gail on the show, what's Gail's last name? A couple of weeks ago on ATP Media, who said that she, in her late 60s, she's now in her 70s, in 2020, when she had retired and her parents had died and they'd locked her in, she had nothing to do, so she started meditating. And as soon as she started meditating and quieting those thoughts, because she was a busy nurse and a chiropractor and busy with clients, and then sick parents, infirmed parents, looking after family, looking after parents, looking after clients, busy, busy, busy. As soon as she stopped the busyness and just sat with herself, the thoughts that started to enter her mind were, well, dead dad came in to say hi, didn't he? And that's what happened to me when I went up to Vipassana when I was like 26. I was dating my first husband at the time. His family was from the then Czechoslovakia, now called the Czech Republic, I think. And his mother, amazing story, his mother had escaped during the war. She'd left 2 little children behind with her parents. She had dropped them off at their place saying, I'm going shopping, and never returned, thinking that she could get them out. And 30 years later, had never got them out. So her first children grew up without her. That's another story. But she followed her husband through the underground. Anyway, she'd never been back to Czechoslovakia. And then they opened the walls, the communist Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia opened it so that all those people that escaped could go back. So her and her 2 children went back to Czechoslovakia for the first time since she had escaped when she was in her early 20s. So that's about, 35 years ago. So she's probably in her 50s at the time. And I thought to myself, well, he's going to go to Czechoslovakia and have a holiday. Well, I do. I'll go up to Vipassana and meditate. So yeah, 10-day meditation retreat changed my life. The first 3 days was my head screaming at me. And then I started to quieten my mind, and I saw amazing things. How old was I? In my 20s. I started to see past lives. I started to see all this stuff. Like when the resistant thoughts stopped, when I stopped resisting the thoughts of, I hate this, I want to go home, I'm uncomfortable, I'm in pain, I'm hungry. These were the thoughts that were torturing me for the first 3 days. What was I thinking coming up here, sitting in meditation? You only ate twice a day. You weren't allowed to look at anybody. You weren't allowed to speak to anybody. Actually, that didn't bother me. Just not speaking and not talking to looking at people, I was okay with that. But some people aren't okay with that. I do like to have a chat and a conversation, but I'm okay not doing it too. But I was a young, fit girl, but my body was aching. I could feel every ache in my body, and I'm sitting there complaining about it, feeling hurt. And when that calmed down and I got into a rhythm of breathing, a rhythm of flowing with the energy that exists with your own body, I started to notice the energy that flows through your body and started to move with it, to rock with it, to flow with it, instead of engaging the thinking the whole time. Other thoughts started coming in. I had visions of past lives. I had communication with spirit guides. I had all sorts of things happening that I didn't understand at the time. But gee, it was fascinating. And then when I came back, I wanted to explore that more. And when I had had a baby, open and closed a furniture and homeware shop and started massaging people, again, getting into that rhythm, that flow, that focus, and that intention of wanting to heal, wanting to help, I started to receive more information. I started to see other people's past lives. I started to know what people are thinking. I started to know where their pain was in their body. A lot of clients used to say to me when I was a masseuse, when I was in my 20s, how do you know to go to exactly where it hurts without me telling you? And at the time, I'm like, I don't know. I just know. My body just knows. You just get into a flow of intelligence, a flow of knowing, a flow of knowing, a flow of knowing that's outside the questions. The questions are great, but being in that flow of intelligence, that flow of knowing. Thanks, Heidi. I'm loving your words. Thank you, Heidi. Beautiful Heidi. She's resonating. This is what happens when you stop arguing with reality. And reality can be even your own stressful thoughts. Stop beating up on yourself for thinking that you're not getting it right, you're not thinking right, you're not speaking right, you're not getting right. Like we're constantly arguing with who we are, aren't we? Judging ourselves. There was a big chat in my messenger group today, and people were talking lots of wonderful things. And I was listening to somebody, and she had put something down and then she'd taken it away because she felt like she hadn't said it right. She hadn't articulated it right. She had talked too much. She'd blabbed too much. Again, this is what we do. When I first went on radio, and so she'd listen back to herself and she judged herself as being, oh my God, I'm so terrible. When I first went on radio, that's exactly what I did. Every time I listened back to myself talking, I would just cringe with embarrassment because I was so in judgment of myself. Oh my God, you sound like an idiot. Oh my God. Oh yeah. And this is what we do when people take photographs of us too. I'm guilty of that too. I have to say, every time someone takes a photograph of me, I look at, really, is that what I look like? We're constantly arguing with reality, aren't we? Constantly bumping up against resistance. And so that resistance keeps you stuck in the matrix of separation. Separation to what? Separation to tuning in, to being in alignment with that flow of love, that flow of intelligence, that flow of knowledge, that flow of the beauty and the magnificence of who we are outside the fear matrix, outside the separation matrix. Unlike the movie The Matrix, that says, when you come out of this reality, you're in this dystopian, like you're plugged into a machine and you're sitting in some chair. Oh, I hated that bit of The Matrix. I know the movies did really, really well, but I was arguing with that, saying, no, this is not how it really is. That was me arguing with reality. Most people that watched the movies were not arguing, and they loved it. And they did, gangbusters, blockbusters in at the box office, The Matrix. But yeah, living outside the matrix is stop arguing with what is. And so Katie came up with this perfect formula to question your stressful thoughts. I talk about her often. When I was talking to a friend the other day, I was talking about her, and I said, I think I spent 8 years asking her to come on the show. And it was always a conflict of interest. She was busy. She was doing a talk, blah, blah, blah. It was just always a no. So I stopped asking. And so I've never had Katie on the show, which doesn't really matter. She's been on many shows. But it's not really about her. It's about the work that she has put into this world, this really simple formula of questioning your stressful thoughts. Is it true? And often you're going to say, yeah. And then when you ask again, can you absolutely know it's true? You're going to say, yeah, I can absolutely know that this is my truth. But that question, who would I be without that thought? Who would I be without that belief? Like, who would you be if you stopped arguing with reality? The reality of who you are, who you think you are, what you look like, what you sound like. how old you are, how young you are, what you have, what you don't have. Who would you be when you stopped arguing? You'd be free. You'd be free, you'd be happy, and you'd be in bliss. You would be tapped in to a different matrix, a matrix which is more connected to the truth of who you are, as freedom, as an extension of source energy, as magic, as tapped into the magic of this world. And so you can talk to this magic and say to it, I'm excited to see how you're going to make this happen without needing it to happen. Because when you need something to happen, the thought says, without this, I can't be happy. Or without this, life isn't right. Even being sick. I saw this when I was a young girl doing I think it was some sort of course, some sort of spiritual course. And somebody had been diagnosed with, again, cancer, a terrible illness, a life-threatening illness. And when they stopped arguing with it, they had found a healing through meditation, through a guided meditation technique. And their cancer, they had a big tumor in their lower abdomen the size of a watermelon, not a watermelon, I think you call them antelopes. We call them rock melons. You people in the States, when I say you, or Europe, a big ball. When she stopped arguing, stopped trying to fix it, and did this guided meditation, what was it saying to her? What was the message here? And tapped into the flow of intelligence. This football size tumor within a few weeks had completely shrunk. She noticed she was going to a massage therapist. And when it would touch, because she was really skinny so that you could feel it. She thought she was pregnant, actually. She was in her 40s and she thought she was pregnant. It was really rock hard. And as soon as she stopped arguing with it, she said that the consistency of it changed. It changed from rock hard to like fluid. It just had this, it didn't, disappear miraculously overnight, but it changed. It became hard. It was hard, and then it was like fluid like. And as she kept doing guided meditations and speaking to it and going on a journey inside herself and asking the intelligence of her body and the intelligence of source what was going on here, and stopped resisting it and started thanking it for this journey that she was experiencing. Because she too was a health practitioner at the time, it was deepening her understanding of who she is as a healer and a health practitioner. Yeah, it disappeared within weeks. And the doctors scratched their head and thought, I don't know how this happened. Again, Anita Morjani, somebody else that I spent 10 years asking to come on the show, who's never come on. I spent about 8 or 9 years talking to her PA and just never being able to get her on the show. She had a similar experience of not wanting to get sick. And so she did all sorts of things because her best friend was diagnosed, her brother was diagnosed, and she saw them get sick and die. And so she began meditating, she began yoga, she became a vegan, she did breath work, she did all this stuff to try and not get sick. And so she was, again, arguing with reality with everything she did. Not that these practices were bad, but the intention of the practice was to resist something that hadn't happened yet. To resist something that hadn't happened yet. That's called fear, right? I'm going to try and stop this happening in my life. So I'm going to do this and this and this and this so I don't have this happen. That's arguing with reality and being scared of something that hasn't happened yet. And sure enough, she got sick and died. She had a near-death experience. She was in a coma in hospital. And she went to the other side and spoke to a spirit guide and her dead father. And the message that they gave her was the message that we're relaying to you today. That everything that she did in her life, not that what she was doing was bad, it was the intention, the fear that was involved in it, the fear of not wanting something to happen. And the message was, you can do anything in your life, but if you do it, just do it with love, do it with celebration and joy. And just relax and love life and love who you are. And she came back and she was riddled. This is Anita Morjani we're talking about. She was riddled with tumors. I think it's 72 tumors throughout her body. And it was impossible to come back from, according to the allopathic paradigm, the medical paradigm. And yet when she came back from her near-death experience, her body healed miraculously within weeks. And the doctors scratched their heads and said, this is impossible. We don't know how this happened. And please don't tell anybody, because it's completely outside of what we understand as reality and how we operate in the world. And she was asked not to talk about it. Anyway, she became one of Hay House's best authors, and she's been traveling the world talking about it ever since, really. Wayne Dyer was the person that put her on the map, which is so cool. When spirit wants something to get out, even when people are resisting you speaking about it, it'll get out there, right? So again, that non-resistance of what is, when she came back into her body, even though she was still riddled with cancer, she was celebrating and listening to music, and the doctors asked her to please keep the music down. She was disturbing the other people in the hospital, and stop being so happy. You're dying of cancer. Why are you so happy? And you're upsetting the other patients who are dying. Don't be happy. Like, there was a lot of resistance to her joy, because she tapped into that knowing. She was told on the other side that she would heal. She was told a lot of things that you can hear when you go and listen to her speak. She's been speaking on podcast shows and on stage, and she's written books about it all over the world. But that message is the same message as deliberate creation, as Byron Katie, as all the great spiritual teachers on earth, as Wayne Dyer, as the Higgs material and Bashar. Follow your highest excitement, which doesn't mean fight with what is. That's not so exciting, to fight with what is. So who have we got online? We've got about half a dozen people online. Small show today. Hopefully people will listen back to this message. Any questions about this? Love that, Heidi says. Heidi, have you got any questions? You're the only one in the comments so far about how to step outside the fear-based matrix. So what is it that you want in your life that you're trying to achieve? Is it money, more success, more health in your body? Are you trying to reverse the aging process, something I contemplate as I get older? What is it that you're wanting in your life? And can you practice this? Can you stop wanting it, which says, I don't have what I want, which is arguing with reality? I would want it another way, and start loving what is. And then in your thinking, rather than needing it or wanting it, just be excited about how ways are going to show up that are going to present you with something that you think would be really cool to live in this life. And I think about that all the time. I think about things like new inventions, teleportation, about the reality of telepathy, about a lot of things. I think about this all the time. And when I get a bit despondent and think, I'm going to have to die and come back before I'm really going to see the world I want to see, I'm not going to see it in this lifetime, because I'm getting older, and I feel like the earth is just moving really slowly, and people are waking up really slowly. Like, I get really resistant, pushing up against what is. And then when I let go of that, I see things on Instagram or online, these miraculous inventions, and I think, wow, this is happening. This is so cool. And so I can engage in thoughts like, I'm really excited to see how that's going to happen. One of the things that I get resistant about is the way we propel our, what we use for transport in this world. Because for a long time now, I've understood that there is an energy system that we can tap into, which doesn't need oil or gas or petrol or any sort of, we don't have to carve up the earth in order to move around the planet, or indeed to move around the cosmos. And the ETs know about this, and they've been giving us this technology for I don't know, a long time, probably thousands of years, probably hundreds of thousands of years. But it's been in the awareness of the collective, of the consciousness of humans in power for a long time, 100 years or so, and yet nothing changes in our world. And so I can get a little despondent about that and think, God, bloody humans, corruption, get into that story. And then I have to stop myself and say, ooh, I'm arguing with reality, and move to a thinking of, I'm excited to see how this is going to happen. I'm excited to see how this will roll out in the world. That's exciting to see that, instead of thinking it's not happening. It's happening, and I'm excited to see how this is going to happen. I remember driving out to the desert a couple of years ago. Australia, when you drive through Australia, you get on a road in the desert when you drive into the outback, and there's this straight road that just goes for hours and hours. It's easy to fall asleep at the wheel. But I was having this discussion with my galactic guides I'm thinking, why am I in my 60s and I'm in a petrol-driven car when I was a kid, like 7, 8 years old, 10 years old, thinking when I grow up, I'm going to have a spaceship. Like, why am I still driving in the same technology that we had when I was a child? Not much has changed. And in order to get out to the desert, it's going to take me 2 days to drive out there when instead I could get in my spaceship and I could be there in an instant or a few minutes, or get in a teleportation vehicle and I could be there instantly. Like, I started thinking about that. So I started to kind of get angry at humanity for going so slowly. Like, why is this still my reality? And the galactic guides popped in and calmed me down and I said, how are we going to change this? And they said, well, come together in your groups and release this technology in the world on a global stage, and then it can't be stopped anymore. And I'm thinking, right, but they were just reminding me that you have to do it in that vein of excitement, in that intention of excitement, and not in the intention of fear. There's so many stories of people that have invented things and then they've had to go into hiding and they've been fearful because people have been murdered and people have been corrupted, and, you know, all these stories. We can buy into all these stories of corruption. I mean, even that, can we stop resisting the corruption and stop arguing with what is? Like, in order to be a part of the shift in this world, we have to find that shift within our own frequency, our own vibration. Can I look out into the world at what I don't prefer, at what I don't want, instead of arguing with it? Can I be grateful for it? Can I be not resistant? Can I be excited about it changing instead of pushing up about it being here? That is the crux. That is the crux to deliberate creation. When Esther Hicks or any of the teachers, myself included, talk about the 3 components of being a genius deliberate creator. We ask because we bump up against contrast all the time and we say we don't want this. And so we ask for what we do want. Well, if you don't want it, what do you want? And then allow. Most of us are not in that allowing stage, but the guides say through Esther and many other teachers on the planet, including myself, that allowing part is the infinite intelligent orchestration of the universe. It is the rules of life. It is the rules of law of attraction. That allowing part is allowing the mechanism that is in place to do its job. So when we're in resistance, we create more resistance. And when we're in allowing, we create more allowing. It's a mechanism. It's not a judgment. It's a mechanism that's in place. And then our part in this mechanism to allow that mechanism to happen in our favor is, the second one was the orchestration, is the allowing part. Yeah. The second component was the orchestration, which is not our job. Our job is the allowing part, to tap into the flow of the stream of infinite intelligence that creates all the worlds. You're so empowered. I posted this on Facebook the other day. You're so empowered that you can, I can't remember what it was. It was a meme on Facebook, that you can empower yourself to feel disempowered. That's how empowered you are. You can empower yourself to feel disempowered. So how do you tap into that, live outside the fear matrix and move into a place of being connected and knowing that you are part of a mechanism of infinite intelligent, infinite creative, intelligent potential, is to stop resisting what is and start feeling the freedom that you're looking for. Everything we want, we think in the having of it will feel good. But can we feel good and still not have what we want? Can we be riddled with sickness, as Byron Katie was asking this man when he was inquiring about wanting his cancer to go away? Can you be riddled with cancer and dying and feel like this is exactly what you want? Easier said than done, right? Can you not have what you want and be happy about it? Can you not be in resistance to what is? This is how we step outside the fear matrix into the magic of life. I'm excited to see how the universe will orchestrate a new reality, a new shift. It's, instead of crying out, I need this, I want this, it's just being in the knowing that all things are possible. Everything is possible. I think we spoke about in a show the other day, impossible is I'm possible. I love that. All things are possible when we tap into knowing, like everything. Even in the Esther Hicks conversation and the Abraham conversation, somebody was listening to her speaking about this and said, do you mean to say that at the moment our reality is if you chop off somebody's arm, it's not going to grow back, right? Do you mean to say if you were tapped into that knowing, that belief system, that structure, if you really believe that was possible, it would be possible? And they said, yeah, everything is possible. When you tap into galactic intelligence and you hear stories about people having abductions and they say, the Greys walked through the walls. Well, in our reality, that's impossible to walk through a wall. Have you tried it? It seems impossible. So what do they know that we don't know? Do they know that the structure of life is actually just energy and information, and they know how to mold that, they know how to manipulate that? They understand a physics that we don't understand, that they can manipulate the molecules of their body and the wall and just merge with it and move right through it? Yeah, seems impossible in our reality, but I'm possible, right? Everything is possible. So tapping into that is kind of excited. Like, what else is possible? What else is possible for you personally? And what is possible for this world? What is possible? Sit and dream about it. Dream, dream, dream about what is possible, what you want to be possible. Fantasize about the world you want to live. Get into that frequency, that energy. Stop resisting what is and start thinking about what it is that you would like to live, and tune into that energy and evoke that energy in your life. Then you've stepped outside of a limiting vibration or a limiting matrix or a fear-based construct that keeps you thinking that you are limited in some way and that you need to work hard and strive to get what you want. In fact, when you do step out of the fear-based matrix, that separation matrix, that third dimensional construct, into awareness and then into a more fluid construct, manifestation can happen instantly. I've spoken about this on the show. I'm going to repeat it again. We've got 8 minutes to go for the show. Thanks to the half a dozen people that were online today. Heidi, you seem to be the only person online today. I think to myself, have I got the times wrong today? But where was I going with this? Stepping out of the 3D matrix into the instant manifestation. We spoke about this on the shows recently about instant healing. When I was doing energy workshops in my 30s, I was doing a lot of psychic stuff, talking to spirit guides, looking inside people's bodies. And I had the question, I want to see something with my outside eyes. I want to see instant manifestation or miracles or what we're talking about, what we're exploring in these courses with my outside eyes, with my physical eyes. And my daughter gave me the experience, and I've had this experience many times since. This was the first experience of ripping open the bottom of her foot. The plumbers had come, dug up the backyard. It was a rented house we were living in, and there were all these old terracotta pipes that were jagged in the backyard, and she'd stepped out there with bare feet and slashed her foot open and came running in, and I was in the shower at the time. And when I washed the dirt off, threw her foot in the shower, plonked her on top of the toilet seat and put her foot in my hand, and I had the thought, I just need to stop the bleeding. I didn't think, isn't this terrible? Isn't this horrible? I wasn't in fear. I was in go mode. I was in, this needs to happen. I'm going to stop the bleeding. And I just commanded a healing, and the cut healed instantly. Because what happened was, as soon as I put my hands on her foot, I was expecting to feel the flow of blood in my hands, the heat of blood. And I didn't feel that. So I took my hand off to see what was happening with the foot. And the cut had healed instantly, like instant manifestation. So I explored why that happened. And there was no resistance to what was happening. There was like, oh, this is happening. There was an understanding that this is happening. And there was just this instant reaction of, now this is going to happen. I'm going to stop the bleeding. And then I'm going to deal with her and the pain and everything else afterwards. And that's what we can do in our lives. We can do it with healing. We can do it with cuts. I've done this many times with cuts. The less resistant we are when we do something stupid to ourselves, because what I've done in the past, and we all do it, is when you fall over or do something idiotic. I've fallen down the stairs outside, you fall over. You start beating up on yourself for being an idiot. Oh, you're such an idiot. Oh, you didn't watch where you were going. Oh, you're an idiot. You knew that. Like, we start beating up on ourselves. And when we're resisting who we are and what's happening, oh, this is terrible and I'm in pain, we keep that pain in place, and manifestation happens really slowly. But when you can stop, just step outside of what's happened. Don't resist it. And just be in gratitude and come back into peace and say, thank you for reminding me to be more careful, to look where I'm going. Just be in that gratitude. I have seen lumps rise and go down. Like rise as I've done it, like a big egg, shape on my foot or my hand or my arm, a big bruise comes. And I've seen it go away with my physical eyes in the moment, like as soon as I change my vibration. And then I don't do it. And then I beat up on myself. And when I beat up on myself and the pain lasts longer, I'm like, wow, that's an indication that I'm not doing what I know to do, because I'm beating up on myself saying, you idiot, you shouldn't have fallen over. You should have looked where you were going. But he's saying here, 4 minutes to go, Heidi, as a child and growing up, I imagined that didn't happen, but I knew this in my soul and knew it's a past life thing. Oh, what's a past life thing? Instant healing? Yeah, the guides are saying yes, 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 yes. In a past life, I'm seeing you as a woman. You weaved magic. I'm seeing you in a forest setting. It's like your classic fairies book setting. People were coming to you for healing. Yeah. And you were known as the medicine woman. I don't know what they called you at the time. Healer, medicine woman, shaman. Yeah, absolutely. So why aren't you doing it in your life today? You're listening to the shows, being reminded of who you are. Yeah. So how are you going to step into the magic and get excited about what you want? My hands, I feel my palms vibrate often. Yeah. Where do you put them? Do you put them on your pets or yourself or the plants? I had this gardener come, because there's renovations happening in the complex I'm living in. I had this gardener taking out all the old garden. And I have these pots. I really don't think about it too much. I enjoy it. And they just thrive. And I asked the gardener, do you talk to your plants? And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he goes, no. And I said, well, I do. I talk to the plants all the time. Why do you think they look like this? And I'm really not a gardener. But I just talk to them. I just talk to them. Even when you're gardening and repotting things, my injuries usually, when you're repotting things, you're touching them, and that energy field, or you're interacting with the energy field of the plant. Again, during that time where my daughter's cut, it healed instantly. There was an old magnolia flower that I put in a glass of water on top of the windowsill, on top of the sink, that had died, and it was just a dead twig living in this glass. And I was about to throw it out, and my little daughter, she was so cute at the time. How old was she? About 10, I think. 8 or 9 or 10, about 10. She said, can we bring this back to life? And in my paradigm, I said, no, darling, I don't think but can we do the same thing with this as we did with my foot? Because she had seen the foot heal instantly. And I thought to myself, well, why am I thinking, outside of limitlessness? And I'm tuning into a limited paradigm if all things are possible. And I said, sure, go ahead, do the same energy, ask for a healing or command a healing, speak to the universe, speak to God, speak to your spirit guides, like do the same thing with the twig, with the dead twig, as you did with the foot. And she said, yeah. And so she gave it back to me, this little dead piece of twig, and I put it back in a fresh glass of water on the windowsill on top of the sink and left it there. Didn't think about it again, right? A couple of days later, I'm washing the dishes and I look up at this dead twig and it's got a green bud on it. And I'm like, no way. No way. I just loved it. And it just reminded me that all things are possible. Bringing back the dead. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Lazarus thing in the, bringing back the dead, putting life back into the thing. Yeah, put life back into your life. Absolutely, green hearts. Absolutely. Oh, hi, Shirley. What are you saying here? My guides tried forever to wake me up. NDE and other experiences finally snapped me out of it. I'm a late starter, Lo. No, you're not. You started exactly when you were supposed to start. Bloody, I have no idea how, but I missed the start of the show. Glad to be here. Yeah, we're just about to we've finished. Everyone's jumping online now when we're finished. Your clocks are changing this weekend, and so it doesn't change for this. The time of the shows, ATP and this show Elevate, stays the same in the States. It'll be different in Europe and it'll be different in Australia. So what used to be 8 o'clock in the morning for me, and now it's 9 o'clock because our clocks change. And when your clocks change, it'll be 10 a.m. in the morning. So I get to sleep in a bit. So we start a bit later in Australia, and I think the times change. They become later in Europe as well. Sorry, Vladdy, you're going to have to stay up even later to see the shows. But thanks, everyone, for listening. And please watch the replay. And if you weren't in the lives, leave me your comments and your questions underneath, or go to my website, KarenSwain.com. and send me a question or any questions that you want me to explore on these shows. Elevate, I just do them, in the moment. I invite guests to come on. I thought I was having such a great conversation this week about all this stuff with different clients and friends that I would discuss it in Elevate today. And gratitudes to you too, Heidi. Thanks for tuning in. And what's Shirley saying here? My husband took me out for a meal. Good on him, Shirley. I hope it was beautiful, but I got to go. We're over time. Big love to you all. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.